In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at two of the new Ghostbusters Secret Lairs that were announced for Magic just in time for Halloween. So let's take a look at the Secret Lairs themselves and see if they're any good, and jump into it. Alright everybody, thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate each and every one of you guys taking the time to watch these videos. And if you do enjoy, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and then click that bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted. And remember who to call when you want your Magic the Gathering coverage, because yeah, we got that here. I tried, it's a Ghostbusters reference. I tried to work it in. We're going to move on. There are two Secret Lairs that we know of coming out so far, and there might be more released, but I haven't seen anything yet, so I'm kind of working with what we got here. And in these videos, I just want to take a quick look at them, the actual choice for the art, the cards, the reprints, etc. Because, yeah, we're getting ready for the next Secret Lair Super Drop, and it feels like the last one was like literally yesterday, even though it wasn't. Obviously we had the Dungeons & Dragons one, which sold out very quickly for the majority of them. I expect this will follow a similar pattern, but I do think it'll come out with other Secret Lairs as well, so I'm sure there'll be some more details there, because I know there is a Duskmourn Secret Lair as well that is on the horizon. So the first one is Ghostbusters Slimer, and this one obviously based around Slimer. When we first saw this, it was like, wow, they didn't include any other Ghostbusters, you know, iconic characters, logos, whatever. It seems like that was actually by design, which is cool. We'll talk about the other one in a minute here that's kind of been introduced. So let's talk about the cards. First, we've got the Mimeoplasm, which has been reprinted 10 billion times, it feels like, but obviously it makes sense to an extent. This is called Slimer Voracious Apparition, so it's a reskin, but it's the same card for legality purposes. The cheapest version of the Mimeoplasm prior to this Secret Lair is about a quarter, with the foil being not much higher. Obviously, like I said, it's gotten many reprints. It's gotten a couple Secret Lair reprints even, but I do think this one will do really well for itself just in comparison to the others because of Ghostbusters. The IP is obviously very popular. I think a lot of people are going to want this. So if you like the art and you're into that kind of thing, I definitely think this is going to be cool. There's going to be some people who are going to want non-Universes Beyond versions of, you know, a card despite being a popular card, so there'll be a little bit for everybody, but from a value perspective, it's definitely not hitting much for me. The next one that we've got is Trickbind, which is actually a pretty decent reprint here at around $15. Looks like it only had one or two prints prior, so not exactly a terrible inclusion. The artwork is what it is, you know, slimed. It's kind of cool. And the card itself is all right. You know, when you get a $15 card that I think now it's down a little bit, which is kind of to be expected, because, you know, as these announcements come out, people are like, oh, there's going to be more of these in circulation. Even if these are harder to get, obviously, is still looking at a good, bit of, you know, value versus what you're getting there. So Trickbind, not bad. Windfall is Slimer's Feast. Windfall, an extremely good card that, despite reprints, always ends up going back up in value to be around, I don't know, let's call it $5. I think it's closer to like $3.50 to $4, but $5 is easy enough. I don't know that Windfall has a foil variant, like whether or not it does as I'm recording this, and I think now that I should have checked it, but as we're talking about it, I'm just doing a quick back end check, and Windfall is one of those cards that actually it does. All right, so it's been in iconic Masters as well as other Masters sets. So the foils typically we're looking at around, I don't know, we'll call it $6 to $7 for near mint. So it's not like a huge discrepancy between the two. But it's an extremely good card. Always cool to have reprints of that. And again, if you're into the artwork and you like the aesthetic, you're obviously going to like what's going on there. But it's never bad. You know, a card like Windfall is usually going to be pretty good regardless. We've got Incarnation Technique, which is called Escape Containment. Probably my favorite art out of the five here. Another card that's like not super cheap. It's like $8 with only a couple reprints, so not too bad. You know, in terms of playability, I don't know how often it's played, but I'm sure it's, you know, it's not, doesn't have value for no reason, obviously, so the card itself is, you know, it's fittingly in here. But yeah, so not terrible, not great, but it's sort of in the middle. And then we've got Pernicious Deed, which is actually a card that's, it's funny, it's very good from a playability perspective, and it's about $5 for the cheapest version. There is a foil variant out of Antiquities that's over $200, which is just crazy, but then there's also one from, I think it's Masters 25, that's like $12, so we're not looking at a thing where it's like, if you buy this in foil, you're getting a super expensive alternative to an ancient card that's, you know, been out for probably a couple decades at this point. I don't even know when Antiquities came out, like surely before like 2004, which means we're looking at least 20 years. And so it's a very expensive foil, but there are other variants. Again, really good card. Probably it sees a lot of play. Golgari is very popular. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's not a terrible inclusion. I think any card that's like over like $5 to $8 that doesn't have a ton of reprints already is always nice to see in a Secret Lair just to get more out there on the market. But if we add up the values, I mean, looking at it, we're looking at about, it's 23, 28, $31 maybe, which like isn't even going to cover the cost of this after tax and shipping. But we've seen the way the Secret Lairs are trending. Obviously, it's not all about the value of the cards. It's the scarcity, the Monty Python stuff doing quite well value-wise after the fact. So hopefully, you know, with enough people trying to get these things and enough outcry, there will eventually be some kind of a shift to this not print to demand, or perhaps even print to demand for a much smaller window where it's like, okay, you have a week, but you can pre-order it at any time within that week, you know? And this conversation comes up anytime we're looking at Secret Lairs, just sort of food for thought. So I think it's a decent enough Secret Lair, assuming it's normal price of $30 for non-foil, $40 for foil. Foils are probably gonna be your best bet here, but I think overall it's okay. It's not insultingly low in terms of value where I'd be like, yeah, avoid this at all costs. But I will say, if you want it, be mindful that you're probably going to be competing with a lot of other people to get it. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head there. But I think it's okay. I would give this one a grade of a B-. It's not really for me, as much as I like it. From a, you know, I like Ghostbusters. It's cool to see that here. But the card choices, while decent in terms of reprint value, aren't that great. And the art is just not my style at all. So some people may like it. I'm going to give it a B- on that scale. And then we'll take a look at the other one. I will say the other one here is actually one I like quite a lot. And this one is, I don't know what the actual name of this Secret Lair is. So as I'm like looking around here, I don't know if they gave me they don't have to give an actual name. So the Ghostbusters Slimer, and it looks like with this reveal, which, yeah, they didn't give it. Kind of Funny Games actually was the one who did the announcement for this. And okay, so it's going to be called The Real Ghostbusters. It's based on the animated series. So that's the actual name of the Secret Lair. This one, in my opinion, is much better, despite being pretty close in value comparable to the other one. So we've got Unlicensed Hearse. I'm happy to see Stay Puft on here. This artwork is super cool, in my opinion. About a $2 card, but it's extremely viable. It's a very, very good card. It was really good in Standard before it rotated out, and does see play in other formats. So there is that balancing factor of, like, you're getting a good card that actually sees play, and you're also able to, you know, get a premium upgrade version of it if you're into Ghostbusters. So I'm not going to flame it too much, but it's not exactly the highest value reprint. We've got Ghostbusters Patch, which is Boros Charm. I love the art on this. It does have a Boros feel. I actually didn't know that Boros Charm was like $4 at the cheapest for like every version of it, at least, that exists. So I guess decent enough, you know, for a good card that you would think has a lot of accessibility. And it's not hard to get necessarily, but I think because of how good it is, it doesn't end up dropping to what people would consider bulk prices. I do like the art on this card a lot, though. There is not much in way of foil for Boros Charm. It was in another Secret Lair that's around $20 or so, and then it was in Gate Crash and I think Commander Legends. There was a borderless version. So there are a couple, but nothing super easily obtainable in terms of just like you're not going to find it in bulk. So a decent enough inclusion here. It's a good card. It's, you know, if you're... I feel like I'm not giving enough context on this, but I think it's all right. The art is really cool. The card is good. If you like those two things, then it's great. It's not like it's a big money reprint, but it's also not terrible. The biggest reprint here is Eldamri's Call, in my opinion, also known as Answer the Call. Eldamri's Call, extremely good tutor. It does have a good number of printings, but we're around $10 at the cheapest. It's one of those cards that, despite how often it's reprinted, it ends up still being, you know, decent value, but it hasn't had like a super budget print either, so it does have that going for it. I think this will be the best performing card out of this lineup of things. It's a good inclusion. I'm happy to see a tutor-esque card included in here. Maybe one day we'll get a Secret Lair that has like demonic tutor, vampiric tutor, whatever. That would be pretty freaking cool as well. But I'm happy with it overall. Total Containment Failure is Living End, which is like a $5 card. Not terrible. It does kind of, funnily enough, work with the suspend mechanics that are coming back in Duskmourn, so there's that. A little bit of a tie-in. Really good card. It's one of those cards that's more combo-oriented. I don't think it's generically like played in a lot of things, but decks that can utilize it can definitely make good use of it there. And again, it's not a bulk reprint, right? So there's at least that going for it. You know, and it's got some cool artwork. And then Careful Study, I love the art on this. It's very silly, but it's nice. It's got that, the aesthetic is much more appealing to me than the other like Slimer-ish variants from the first Secret Lair. This card's like $2, but again, it's, you know, it comes down to preference, I think, in terms of the Secret Lairs. We're looking at an overall value of about $23 for the cards included in this if we look at the lowest. And the funny part about that is I actually feel better about this Secret Lair than I do the Slimer one, despite the reprint value being a little higher. The artwork here feels just more interesting and exciting to me. It just is, I don't know, it's appealing, and I think the cards that are included are a lot more commonly played for the most part, so it feels like a better purchase. I think if I am going to get one of these, it will most likely be the real Ghostbusters one versus the Slimer one, but I think it really does come down to just being aware of what's in them and being aware of whether or not they're cards that you want, whether or not you like the art, because Secret Lairs nowadays, especially with the FOMO that's been created with this limited printing method that they're doing, you know, some people might just buy it just because, and not every single one is going to end up being expensive because it just doesn't work that way, supply and demand. So, you know, do the research, look at the cards. If you really like what's going on there and you want it from a collectible perspective and an art perspective, I think you'll absolutely find that the real Ghostbusters one is going to be really cool if you're a fan of the series. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know, out of these two Secret Lairs, which one would you more be, you know, open to getting, I guess? Where are you planning on buying, if you're buying them, or are you just going to skip them and maybe buy the singles? Just kind of keep me in the loop. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.